Hey there, hi there, ho there, it's Joe here. We're back talking to Arthur.
I'm not quite so trusting. And I don't want to be, I want to be careful how this all comes out. Because
that's the way I'm leading into this, actually, because it's a very important subject.
Okay.
Art, let me bring up a bit of a sensitive subject, but it's a very important subject. Because Ukrainian women don't like to insult, and it's very important for them not to insult, not to hurt people. Have you noticed that?
They don't like to be hurt, insulted, and they don't like to do it to others.
Exactly. So that makes it a little bit challenging for us to read them. So the topic here is, how do we know when she's into you? What do you think? How do you know when she's into you? Because we're worried she's just being polite and she's giving us signs, or she's talking to us, or she's going out with us because she doesn't want to be unpolite or rude. That's the worst. They don't like to be rude.
Well,
what do you think? What are the signs that she's into you?
I'm just going to be perfectly honest here. I mean, this is no bullshit, so I'm just going to...
Spade is spade.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Let me have it.
I don't think you can know for a long time. Honestly, the ladies can be very difficult to read. Their culture is very different than ours. Their language is very different. That's part of their culture. To me, they may seem one way and be thinking another. It is almost like a chess game. You know, Russian-speaking mentality are very Russian Slavic people are very big into chess, and sometimes it seems like that to me. So I'm going to be perfectly honest and say, I think about the only way you're going to know if they're really into you or not is time. You're not going to know for a little while. They may be just testing the waters. I mean, they'll be friendly. You will have a wonderful time with them. Don't get me wrong. You may have a wonderful time with them. And they're going to have a good time with you, you know, getting to know you, maybe spending some time together. But to actually know if they're really into you, if they've made their mind up that they really want to go forward with this, might take some time. And you may not quite know what's going on for a while. And at some point you will.
I agree with you. And you know, I've been confused with this myself. So how do I find solutions? I ask other ladies.
Oh, yeah.
And in the interviews with the ladies, I ask them the questions. You know what they say to me?
I want to know, because I've never done that.
For example, Anna I interviewed yesterday, and she said to me, well, you know, she's into you if she's agreeing to go out for the next date. That's, for example, one. She says if she's not into you, she's generally not going to agree to go out with you again.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a little subtle clue. She's going to be inquisitive. She's going to ask you questions about what you want, what you like, what's your life like back home. You know, all these questions about you. She's going to be showing that she's interested in you. She also said, other women have said to me, you need to feel a woman. You need to tap into your heart and feel if there's a connection, chemistry-wise. If you don't feel that spark, then that's her lack of connection to you. Then there's maybe no chemistry there. Because what we're also talking about here is how to discern from the 10% and the 90%, right? Because the 90%, she might not be into you, but she'll go out with you because you're taking her to nice restaurants. She doesn't have any money for entertainment. You're maybe buying her some presents, some gifts. So we're talking about that versus the 10% basket of good intentions, ladies that want to get married and have a family. She is going to be asking you inquisitive questions. And you need to feel that connection. If there's no physical spark, then you'll feel that. And if there's no physical spark, then she probably won't go out with you again.
Right. I'll agree with that. Initially, that's probably the external indicators of whether she is or not. But if as the date progresses, or as the continuing dating, say she agrees to go out with the next time, again, you're getting friendlier and friendlier. That's when I find the most confusing, is as you start building more time together, more relationship together, you've gotten past that initial indicators that she's into you, which she may be by curiosity or by intrigue or whatever reason. But as time goes by, now you're starting to get a little more serious.
You're wanting to know, is she serious about me?
Is she serious now?
And so your question?
Yes, and now so I'm going, well, what are the signs? How can I tell if she's really serious? We're not having a sexual relationship. We're still in this building range. Is she really serious about this relationship or not? So that's where I reach the point of saying maybe yes, maybe no. You know, time will tell, I guess.
I can relate to that. I spent maybe 40 hours with one lady, many dates, and she'd come over to my flat even, which a lot of them won't. I made her dinner. We did all kinds of things. No hand holding, no touching of any kind. 40 hours.
That's a lot of time with them.
It's like over a week of dating every day, almost every day. I really didn't know. I felt after a while, I just decided, no, she was not really into me. She was a beautiful, woman, my type, but there was no chemistry from her side, and I had to just feel that out, and over time. But like we're saying, it can be a little bit tricky because she wanted to spend time with me. Now maybe she just wanted to go extremely slow, and that's what she told me, but I didn't believe it after a while because it just didn't seem to develop. There didn't seem to be a natural progression on the physical and the intimacy side of things, even though the conversation was great and stuff like this. So
I agree. And I really believe in my heart that my experience is if relationships are serious and they're growing somewhere, there is going to be a progression. You're going to have bumps in the road. I mean, big language differences and temperament differences, obviously going to be some bumpy times. But the relationship's going to continue, and it's going to move forward and grow, and it's going to become more intimate, and if it doesn't grow into intimacy...
If the intimacy doesn't develop...
At some point...
After 40 hours, what's that?
I'm not saying I want to put a time on, but you'll know. You know when all of a sudden you've reached this point where it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, you have to decide, okay, is this a dead-ended for whatever reason?
And it's hard. It's hard. And it's hard to sometimes walk out on those. And you probably had the same experience.
I had to walk out on that and just say, I don't see this going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because, well, I was physically attracted to her at the beginning. When it wasn't reciprocal, I lost my physical attraction.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And after a while, she was like my sister.
And you know what?
I actually lost my physical, and it's a beautiful,
I was just going to say,
younger woman. And I was actually a little surprised at that, but...
There needs to be that reciprocity.
It does.
And the chemistry between the two of you, because...
chemistry is a funny thing.
It is a funny... I found myself in the same situation, similar situations, beautiful women, but they were not into me. And then all of a sudden, they weren't so beautiful anymore. I mean, physically they're beautiful, but there was the light had gone out, and you just walk away.
Whatever causes that, it is what it is.
I don't know, and so when you talk about these kind of, do you know if they're into you or not?
And then do you know if they're serious?
And do you know if they're serious? So there again, you're right about the first few signs, but
I think a couple important points on this topic is, do you know if she's serious? I think if she's serious, she'll be open to start, or maybe even volunteer an offer for you to start meeting family. Now, it might be brother, sister, it might be siblings.
Friends.
Friends, okay, that's the first one. You're
Big.
Right. If they don't want to introduce you to friends, they're not serious.
No. They have
that's a red flag.
Huge red flag.
They're not serious. Yeah. And then, okay, so you meet the friends first, typically. Then you'll meet the siblings, typically. They're around. But then the parents, that's an interesting one. Because and it depends if they're from the city in the Ukraine or the countryside. In the countryside, in Sumy, or maybe even smaller villages outside Sumy, I've asked and I've been told, in some villages, it's customary that you don't meet the parents until you're engaged. But I think it's a custom that's kind of a dying tradition. Nowadays, you meet the parents before engagement, if you're starting to get serious. But it's definitely, once you meet the parents, if she wants you to meet the parents, she's serious. She is looking at you as a potential husband.
Yeah, she's made her mind up that you're at least 75% potential marriage material.
Okay, that's quite a definitive number.
Hey, well, that's just I'm just saying she's not 100%, but yet she's pretty sure you're the guy.
No, she's not 100%. They take their time.
It
takes time to build trust with the Slavic women.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're from another country, so it should.
Indeed. The trust is a big thing. You know, it's interesting. I agree with you completely on the whether they're into you or not. If they start introducing you to people, friends is absolutely the first thing you should expect. They'll introduce you to one of their friends.
They want to check you out and see
the friends
how you are socially.
Well, not only that, they want their friend's opinion of you.
Yes, that's it.
What do you think?
Which is smart, right?
Absolutely, you know, because their friends can make or break you.
They have a saying in Ukraine, show me, and we have this similar saying, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are.
A good point, good point. So if they're never willing to introduce you to friends, that's a pretty bad sign. And that should take place, that should be pretty early in the relationship, I think. You know, not maybe immediately, but it should happen fairly early.
Yeah.
Then the siblings, like you say, brother, sister, family members like that, they'll want to find out what brother thinks about you or sister thinks about you and how you relate to them. And then, of course, the parents.
Is the ultimate.
Yeah.
And that's a bit, it depends.
I just don't think you can put any kind of time frame on that.
No, I don't think you can either, but I think it's a huge indicator. If once you meet the parents, you know you're pretty much in. If you're not meeting the parents, then she's just not sure.
She's just not sure.
It's a big indicator, though.
Big indicator. I agree completely.
Yeah.
It's especially a cultural norm here to introduce you to the parents at some point when it's serious, when she knows, or she's really pretty sure.
Yeah. Art, thank you very much for talking
Joe,
to me today.
It's been my pleasure. It's been an honor to be able to participate in this.
Oh my God, like your story and the fact that you've been so open-hearted about everything that you've learned, and you know your story and everything. It's been amazing. You're going to help a lot of.
Well, I hope so. I hope it helps a lot of people.
It will. It will.
So my hurt and my loss is hopefully a gain to someone else. Okay.
Listen, if you want to know the marriage agencies that I've found here in the Ukraine that are truly honest agencies, that care about you, that are not all about the money, that do genuine, private, personal matchmaking, just shoot me an email, okay, on the screen right here, and I'll be happy to send you an email and let you know which agencies that I've discovered are genuine and true here in the Ukraine. That is 90%, in my opinion, of your success. Looking for the most amazing, beautiful, talented, smart, sexy, amazing wife here in the Ukraine. You can be successful, but to go it alone, you're in shark-infested waters. That's my opinion. Shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to share my contacts with you. I think that's good. Hey, anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I've gone over in my head a couple of times some of the stuff we've gone through, and I think out of what we've done, the hours we've done, certainly you can edit 30 minutes or 15 minutes of good out of it.
Oh yeah.
And when you do, I'd love you to email me a copy of it, a link. I'd like to see it.
Absolutely.
How bad it turns out.
No.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good, and I'm actually really sincere about it, because this is not just farting around for me, because I have indeed gone through all this stuff, and this is all true stories and true experiences, and I feel so sympathetic for so many guys. I mean, some of the guys I've met, like you said, have spent not just the money, and sometimes it's not about the money. It's just about the investment in their hearts and what they hope for and how they're being had. And they don't even...
Oh, just leave it.
Oh, leave it on?
Yeah,
And they
just
don't
leave it.
even know they're being had most of the time. And I really feel for that. I've got one friend that's been over here now twice for 3 months at a time. In the last 2 years, he corresponded to this one girl, and she ended up being a real girl, but they've had 2-3 month times together, and out of that entire time, she's never even, I think he told me this last time, she's never even kissed him a real kiss.
And they've been together how long?
That's the difficulty. They've been writing back and forth. He's been helping her. When they do meet, it's, Marty, I need some, can you meet me at Eco Market for groceries and go and buy groceries for her? Or my son is really sick and needs medicine. Every time they make a date on the phone, she'd find some excuse to break it. Something would happen in her family or whatever. And he's got so caught with this woman, caught up, and she's not even... I mean, there's 1,000 women better suited to him. And he just got so invested into her that he just can't seem to break loose no matter what happens.
And they've met in person.
Yes, they've met in person many times.
Many
times. This last time he was just here 3 months. They met in person. But in 3 months, he's here in 3 months. And this is after over a year of being together, him sending her help, money, monthly, support, and previous times, and letter writing for almost going on the 2 years. And they've never even been as intimate as a good kiss. Nothing but a peck on the cheek, and he won't even hold hands.
And he doesn't get that she's using him.
He's too invested.
What's the age gap? What's the age gap?
She was 27 and he was 50. He's 55, 52, 30, almost 30 years.
47.
25 to 30 years, somewhere in there. And I know him well enough.
It's too much.
We've been acquaintances for a long time.
That's the age gap dilemma again.
Believe me.
Because she's not into him. I just need to hear the story.
Marty is. I have told Marty. In fact, I got so ugly with him one time. I thought he'd never speak to me again. And I got tired of listening to him whining about her not doing this and her not doing that. He was just all, I said, Marty, you just need to buck up and be a man and just quit the fucking whining and quit your pissing around. I'm tired of hearing, I'm up to here with it. She's fucking you over. And I mean, I'm just really being nasty about it. And he says, I know, Art, I know she's just using me because... And then he finds, well, she's on 3 dating sites, and she's active on the dating sites. This last time he found her on a couple of dating sites, and yet she's still writing him, telling how much she misses his, and all this.
See, he's fallen in love with her beauty, with her, he's fallen for her.
Well, he got invested, and he fell for her hook, line, and sinker, and then he started helping her out, which just closes the bond. And
27 and 54. It's
got a little boy
much.
And here every time that I would talk to him almost daily. This was in this year, and we would email back and forth. And I said, "Well, what's going on with you and this girl?" And she, "Oh, we're going to meet tomorrow. I'm cooking pizza, and she's going to come over." And then how did it go with you and? And she said, well, her boy was sick yesterday and she couldn't make it. Now he's sick and she won't be able to see me till Saturday, 4 days from now. I said, okay, well, what do you got planned on? This went on for 3 months. I think they actually had physical meeting 2, maybe 3 times. She didn't even show up when he left to go to Ukraine. He left Ukraine this time. I mean, it was just this insane.
So obvious to everybody else.
I feel so sorry for him, but he let himself get emotionally involved and emotionally invested in her, and he just can't tear loose.
But you see, the age gap is the trap, right?
Big
it's
trap.
The trap.
We're
allured by the beauty, and we're thinking with the wrong head, and we just need to know not to go there. It's as tempting as it is.
It is. And I kept telling Marty, I said, Marty, for God's sake, you're 55 years old. I said that you could possibly,
55?
or however old he was,
Yeah.
I forget. You could possibly find one in the 20s. He wants a woman in the 20s. I said, Marty.
Well, he's going to have,
Marty,
he's going to have
got
disaster after disaster.
And I kept telling him over and over, Marty, please, please try to make a connection with a woman in her 40s. I kept telling him, Marty, there are incredibly beautiful, sexy, real women in their 40s walking the streets of this place alone. Local agencies are full of them. Whatever you can start meeting some women that are age appropriate for you, that are in their 40s, late 30s, maybe 40s, somewhere. But get away from these under 30 girls. They're not good for you. They're not good news.
Yeah.
Even if you.
But
make
he's
a
not
connection.
listening.
No, he wouldn't listen. I think he tried to go out on a couple of dates, and they were real women, and I don't know what to say. It's just this. I felt so sorry for him. I just want to cry for him. But he made his bed, and he's still going to waller in it. I don't know what he's doing now. I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but I think he's still communicating with her. She's probably still trying to get him to send money.
He probably still is.
I don't know.
Here and there.
I don't know. You can make a horse. Bring a horse to water. You can't make him drink.
It seems to be the hard lesson. I told you about the guy on the flight to from Berespool to Frankfurt, getting off the plane. I look at him. He's 70, obviously, and he's seeing a 20. I think she was 22, 23. So spent a bunch of time with her, and he doesn't know why there's no intimacy. We took her out, had a lovely time, but he's going back to see her again.
I'll tell you another story, a real story. I have a couple of friends in Odessa. I told you that. One of them, Anna, she works as a manager of apartment units and stuff. She does that. She's also fluent English, 30-ish, and an interpreter. You could hire her, and she's fluent. Very nice woman. I really liked her a lot as a friend. Mm-hmm. And then the other, Victoria, she was older. She was late 40s the last time I talked to her. She's the one that was married but separated. And she managed apartments that's what she did for a living. I think she managed 20 apartments or something like that in Odessa. And Victoria and I got intimate one time. But we got intimate in our relationship as far as communicating, and her English was immaculate too, and we got very close. And she would told me a couple of stories about the dating agencies, because she was affiliated with them in the sense that she rented apartments to them. The dating agencies rented her apartments on a daily basis.
So she heard the stories.
She not only heard the stories, she saw the aftermath. So she was there. She said, and this was what I was telling you earlier about several of the dating agencies being affiliated with escort services as well, basically prostitution. And she said, she says, I've several times rented these apartments that I manage, and it would be just almost like a revolving door. She said, this one guy from such a country had more money, had all the money. The money was not an issue, but he wanted 2 to 3 girls a day. And the agency would send over 2 to 3 girls a day. And he went for like 4 or 5 days, and he was just here on a sex tour. And then she told me another story, that this is one I was actually getting to. She rented an apartment to a man who was in his 60s, I think, but not in good health, not a healthy man, not a man who kept himself in shape, but a nice guy. Mm-hmm. And he had made a connection with a 30-year-old, beautiful young 30-year-old woman. And so he came over, rented the apartment for a week or however long it was, and met her, went out on a date, and it seemed like it was okay. And so maybe he was there a couple of weeks. And so he started buying her expensive presents right off the bat because she was a beautiful woman paying attention to this old, shriveled up, ugly guy, you know. And she said, Victoria said, and he really was ugly. It just was not a hand. It was hard to look at. And she was really pretty. And boy, you know, it was going. And then about a week into it, she had sex with him. But he was buying $1,000 gifts for her and doing really, you know, coats and clothes and jewelry and spending a lot of money. He had a lot of money. He was spending a lot of money on her. And they were actually had sex. And Victoria, in her way, she says, and I saw the wrappers. I know he was taking Viagra. And feeling really good about getting some, you know, whatever. And that's okay. I don't have no problem with that. That was just her observation, and the way she would say it.
But the sex tourism, you know.
But this was a guy who fell in love.
Brothels. Oh, he fell in
love.
love.
This was not a man coming over here for sex. This was a man who actually, she said, genuinely, he fell in love with this woman. He wanted to marry her. He was buying her all these gifts. He proposed marriage to her. He was absolutely in love. Well, we need some time. And so he went back, and they had sex a few times. And he went back, and of course the letter writing probably continued on. And then I think it was a few months later, he called and wanted to rent the apartments again, and he wanted to come back, and that so-and-so was, you know, they were in love and all this stuff, and came back, and this time it just didn't go anywhere. Well, Victoria, she's one of these women that take charge. I mean, God, did she ever take charge? Anyway, she's a
lot of those in the Ukraine.
Oh my God!
A lot of powerful women in the Ukraine.
Oh, she wore me out. Oh my God! I don't even want to think about it. Stop it. She asked about the woman, this 35-year-old girl, young girl. So she went and asked about her.
To who? To her?
To the
woman?
agency.
Oh.
Because they were in cahoots, more or less. One of her friends on the agency that worked at the agency. I want to know about this. Tell me about this girl. Because now all of a sudden this girl didn't want anything to do with this guy. He had spent tens of thousands of dollars in gifts and stuff, and he was in love, and he was coming back over to rent the apartment, and he got there, and he was just, they were going to get married, on and on and on and on, and then she never shows. And she never answers a phone call. And he's going, Victoria, what's going on? So she was married.
She was married.
She was married and had a child. She was married, had a child. Her husband was fully aware of what was going on. The money and the gifts was too good to pass up. She was like, she sold her a few times. She had sex, and her husband was fully aware of it and fully in agreement with it. And he spent $10,000 on her, probably, buying her gifts and furs.
So what do you think of that? She used him, but he used her.
Well, if it's
he used her beauty.
No. It's a different situation. I don't have a problem with it if it's a business agreement in that's a beneficial. This was not a beneficial agreement. This man thought, and she convinced him that love and marriage were imminent in this thing. He got his heart invested in this way before he should have. And it's one thing if you enter into it, if he were to come over and enter into this and say, well, I'll spend some money on her, and if we get sex, that's great, but, this is not going anywhere, and I know it's not going anywhere because she's half my age. But if it did, great, but it's not. And, then...
But it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. He was convinced that
she was into him.
She loved him and was going to be married, and they were going to go back to the United States and live happily ever after. I have no idea if she told him that. This was the story Victoria was relating to me. I'm assuming that he probably shared a lot of this with Victoria because they got to know each other.
But you know what the women ask me when I interview them? They say, Joe, explain to me, how can a man how can an old man be with a young girl, 30 years old or whatever, and be thinking she is into him and she wants him?
Delusion.
Delusion.
Self-deception.
Good answer.
It is. It's absolutely the answer.
An industry brainwash component, yes, but we have to take responsibility at the same time.
You know, you're in marketing. Advertising is pervasive in our societies, in our world.
Yeah.
You don't always need to buy into everything that's being advertised.
Yeah, we have to take self-responsibility.
There's personal responsibility. So if you deceive yourself or delude yourself into believing that this is something that's real, then you're responsible for that. It's not something.
I agree with you.
It's self-responsibility, because
I completely agree.
There's so many.
Because the women, this gives the industry the bad name. Because the women look at the men and these old men and say, "Hey, he deserves it." I've had them say that to me. He deserves whatever he gets.
It is partially true, because there's personal responsibility involved, and if you will convince yourself, delude yourself, whatever, and people do it all the time about many things. It's all about a belief system that you develop, and it can be a delusionary one. Mm-hmm. And if you do see this as a reality, and you develop that belief system, you've just moved into the realm of science fiction.
That's all it is. It's a pipe dream.
It's a fucking Pollyanna dream, a fantasy world. You're better off living in your virtual world and jacking off, because this is a heartbreaking world.